warriors. Any warriors in the room today? Excellent. We have warriors. Warriors is the important thing, because the warrior is a front man. The warrior is the person who stands in honour at all times. The warrior is the person who will go outside his own door and he'll stand for other people's rights, rather than watch them get trodden on. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So, in the world that we live in, we have what's known as police officers. I'll say that carefully. Police officers. Police officers swear an oath. They swear an oath to serve and protect us. But primarily they swear an oath to serve the Queen. Are we all with that? Yeah. Right. Do you know what the Queen swore in 1953? She swore an oath to serve us the people. So that makes her the servant of the people, yes? Yeah. Government officials, the agencies, their soldiers, their guys with the tasers, all the rest of their people are first and foremost serving the Queen. So they're not serving us when we come into conflict with the Queen and her rules, her regulations, her government, procedures, 8.5 million acts and statutes and writings of Parliament which are forced upon us. So where do we go with that? Where do we go? Where do we get redress? When we're fighting the state agencies, the seven-sided star of the state, where do we go? We've got nowhere to go, because all them agencies work together. They're all organs of the state. Yeah? The Ministry of Justice, the police, the social services, the local governments, they're all organs of the state. The state is being controlled and serving the Queen. The Queen is to serve us. So therefore the Queen is not serving us, so she's in tyranny, she's in a state of treason. High treason. She's not doing what she took an oath to do.
Breach of contract.
So she's breaching the contract, yeah. So if we have any form of allegiance to the Queen on that point, are we not kicking ourselves in the butt? You know, are we not giving these people permission to kick us every day? So the law of the land before the Magna Carta, I'm not going to go into lawful rebellion at this point, because the government codified all sorts of things. To bring us to the point where we believe that all our acts and statutes are protecting us. They even took chunks out of the Magna Carta and brought them into their codified rule book, like the Magna Carta 2001, was it 2001? Where we have a right to lawful rebellion. But if we claim lawful rebellion under their act, we're actually taking ourselves and putting ourselves in the statute framework. We actually had lawful rebellion a long time before this government sat its first meeting. The lawful rebellion was already enshrined in common law. We have a right to rebel. So we must not mention when we're making a complaint or we're attacking these people and we're trying to fight for our rights, we must not mention the act, Because once you start mentioning acts, it throws ourselves into their ballpark. Don't do it, don't do it. Back in the 9th century, up until about the middle of the 11th century, we had common law and common law courts working by common sense. The Magna Carta came along, 1215, and it enshrined some of our common law rights. One of them rights was the lawful rebellion, which I'm sure all the people know in here. But at that time, we had common law, and the kings had their hands forced, i.e. King John was forced by the barons to engage and sign, and the Magna Carta was formed, and the constitutional document, which is the Magna Carta, became into existence. By whatever reasons, or whether you believe it's true or whether it was under duress, it doesn't really matter. So at that point, there was a permission in the Magna Carta for a body of people to form a government. That is the government that we know today. We all agreed? They were given a permission by the king to form a government. But their only permissions were to manage the commercial activities of the land, commerce. Now, forgive me if I'm wrong, but we're all private individuals. We live a private life, we live in private houses, we're not commercial. Are we commercial? Are we anything to do with the government? Nothing whatsoever. You know? A good example of this is, does anybody know what a universitas is? A what? Universitas. Go look it up now on Google, right? Right. Anybody know anything about companies and limited liability, limited partnerships? Anybody yet? Yeah? A few people know that. Various different forms of statutory companies. Limited company, limited liability, limited partnership, limited by guarantee, non-profit making, limited by guarantee types of companies. Before we had all them statutory labels to put on our types of companies and businesses, we had what's known as a universitas. Now, universitas doesn't come under statute. I run a universitas company. Why do I run a universitas company? Because I'm external to statute. The taxman comes up my drive and he gets asked to leave because he's trespassing. That's it. He doesn't have to do business with me because I'm not consented. The universitas oh, they're cutting the power off on us now. A universitas is what you'll find that most churches and religious institutions register themselves as businesses. And a universitas doesn't have to show any accounts to the Inland Revenue, doesn't have to show any accounts to the VAT-man, doesn't have to enter into and engage with health and safety and all the rest of the bull crap that the system forces upon us as private individuals. So, I work as a universitas, I am a universitas. A common law court, where it's not running for profit, would be a universitas in its own status. Are we with that? So we're not here to make profit, as opposed to a Ministry of Justice, which is a profit, run-for-profit business. Yeah? So the formation of the common law courts, going back a little bit, is where we need to be, pre-statute, pre-Magna Carta. Forget all the rules brought in by these players. Yeah. They design their rules to protect and look after them, not us. When really they should have been protecting and looking after the commercial activities. So make yourself non-commercial. So that's a little bit of insight into where we should be starting off from. Somewhere around about 1,000 years ago. And I'm all for technology, don't get me wrong, but the last 1,000 years has gone astray somewhere. It's just been ruined by man. You know, we've let these people do this to us. We've let them hoodwink us and create the nanny state. We've let them take control of everything that we need to think about and do ourselves. And the common law courts, working alongside common law communities, because if you have a community of people, you don't necessarily need to be a court. You know, a court is a part of that community, yeah? You know, like the town of, where are we now, Coventry? The town of Coventry has a community of people. If there's no criminals and there's nobody to take to court, you're still a community, you don't need a court, yeah? But the court becomes a part of a community. And the formation of courts is a very, very simple task. But first of all, you need to form a community. You need to have a meeting of minds. You need to meet people where they're at. You need to treat people like human beings. We're not robots, we're human beings, and we need to use common sense. So when a community forms a constitution is not written by the Secretary of State. Right? If I take this gentleman here and I form a contract with this man, how do you do? Alright, good man. I form a contract to cut his edge for the next 10 years and charge him 50p a week. We've got a contract, yeah? Our contract is verbal, it's a meeting of minds. We've agreed that that's what we're going to do. And I can be sued under common law as a tort for breach of contract, yeah? Yeah. Right. So a constitution is, in reality, an enlarged contract. A constitution, to be constitutional, has to have a meeting of minds with a group of people. And that constitution is formed between their meeting of minds. It's just a bigger contract. It's an agreement to perform, an agreement to do something, an agreement to not do something, if you like. Like, I'll agree not to park in front of your house for the next 5 years with an ice cream van. You know, it's whatever the agreed terms are, form a constitution. And when that's agreed by the meeting of minds, that is your constitutional foundation for anything you want. A community, a court, whichever way you want to go. Community brings on the court. Are we with that? Next phase is, we've got nice members of the community. And whether you do this as a community or you do it as a court, it doesn't matter. In a community, you get naughty boys, you get local villains. You build a set of stocks at the end of the road, you put them in on a Saturday morning, do whatever. You appoint peacekeepers. Now, a lawful process of appointing peacekeepers is you can self-nominate. When you nominate yourself, that's fine. You must put it in the public domain. If you're a member of a community and you're representing your community, your street, your borough, your neighbourhood, it's public. You are agreeing to uphold your duties to them, i.e. to protect them. So if your neighbour needs protection, you're protecting them, but you're public. So as a nominated person, you are a public figure, yeah? Are you very comfortable with that? It's a bit like stepping outside the framework and stepping outside the box thing for a lot of people, because this industry that we're generating here, this whole entirety, this new rebirthed concept, there's a lot of people that are frightened of it. And for a couple of years, I've been watching the common law stuff, and I've been frightened of it. And it's nothing to be ashamed of, because when you realise that we've got, what, 300 or 400 people across the country who are interested in actually bringing back law and justice to the common level, but you've got 1 million people acting as civil servants who don't want this to work for us, yeah? So they're going to victimise us. They're going to say, you're an idiot, you're mad, you're crazy. Because A, they're in a little compartment and they don't understand. B, they're frightened because they know that they're doing wrong on a daily basis and they're going to be answerable on a human level. Yeah? With me? And this is where we get resistance all the time. So the system will rebel against us because they'll call us rebels. But I'm not bothered about that now. I see a structure.